Welcome. This demonstration will go through some of the main capabilities of AEM as a cloud service. The story will cover three main personas. First, Justin, a system administrator in charge of setting up AEM as a cloud service. Then Matthias, a content author in charge of managing web pages and assets. And finally, Brian, a web developer in charge of extending the AEM applications. Let's start with Justin, our system administrator. After being provisioned for the product, Justin's journey starts in the Adobe Cloud Manager. As a new tenant of AEM as a cloud service, he's just a couple of clicks away from starting an entire new AEM project. It's called a program. Justin can create sandboxes for demo purposes, and programs for production usage. Today, Justin is creating a sandbox program, in which both the AEM sites and the AEM assets capabilities are enabled by default. The sandbox program is initialized with a first AEM environment created for development purposes. As it is created empty, we're going to add our first project to it. A separate Git code repository is also created along with each program. For this demo, Justin is going to populate this repository with the code and the content from a reference implementation, known as the weekend tutorial. It's called the weekend tutorial because the entire site can be rebuilt from scratch, step by step, following the tutorial for a couple of days. As the reference implementation is available on github.com, Justin copies the Git URL for this project, then clones it locally. Once cloned, Justin gets the credentials of the Git repository for his sandbox. Then Justin configures it as a new remote repository for his local Git project. The final step is to push all its content to Cloud Manager. In order to get the project code built and the associated content deployed to his environment, all Justin has to do is to run the deployment pipeline targeting our new development environment. After a few minutes and a few steps ensuring good code quality and performance, the associated project is ready to use in the development environment. Let's hand over to Matthias, our content author persona. Matthias logs into the new environment using his Adobe ID. The new environment is integrated into the Adobe Experience Cloud by default. Once logged in AEM, Matthias can quickly navigate to any other Experience Cloud solution, all with a single identity and profile. Today is June 29, 2020. Let's have a quick look at the current version number. As you can observe, the current version is also reflecting the same date of the day, June 29, 2020. This is one of the main characteristics of AEM as a cloud service. The AEM environment will always be running the latest version, and you don't have to worry about costly upgrades. Matthias navigates to the weekend site from the AEM Sites Management Console. There he observes a typical site structure for a site available to multiple countries, in multiple languages. Then he edits one of these pages to enter the main page authoring interface. From the site home page, he can preview the different types of pages each created from different templates. For instance, the magazine section is made of article pages, and the adventures section is made of individual adventure pages. In the next steps of our AEM demo, Matthias is going to create a new article page for the magazine section. For this page to look really good, he needs a whole new set of digital assets. Matthias navigates to the Assets area in the AEM environment in order to manage the digital assets for this new page. Matthias selects a few photos and uploads them from his desktop. The photos are processed quickly thanks to the new Assets Compute microservice and the use of network acceleration techniques. With AEM as cloud service, Matthias can upload assets up to 10 times faster than before. Matthias quickly verifies that all the needed renditions of different sizes and formats are there for him to use on his web page later. AEM as a cloud service is always learning, thanks to Adobe Sensei and its use of artificial intelligence powered by machine learning. For instance, Matthias can see how the Smart Crop capability automatically detected the meaningful part of the photo for the desired formats, but he can always adjust manually if needed. By looking at the photo properties, he can also verify the smart tags have been automatically extracted based on the photo content. Also, all available metadata has been extracted automatically from the original photo file. This metadata can be manually edited and adjusted according to a metadata schema configured for the parent folder. Should one of these assets require some editing, Matthias can add a formal annotation in order to detail what to do. He can then edit the photo with the Adobe Creative Cloud application of choice, let's say Photoshop 2020 in this case. He makes a quick change to the photo. Then he saves the changes locally. When ready to do so, he pushes his edits back to the AEM server. The changes are saved as a new version, as reflected in the photo timeline. He can also do quick visual comparisons in between the current and the previous versions. These are great photos, but he's also going to need the main body of text for the new adventure page. In AEM, this is best managed as a content fragment that can be reused across multiple experiences. Matthias creates the new content fragment using one of the pre-built templates, allowing to enter some of the necessary metadata. Formatting text, and linking, is possible from there also. Now that all the digital assets are ready, Matthias can go and create the new page in the site. He gets it first created in the master language structure. He can create the page using one of multiple pre-configured page templates. Once the page is created, he opens it for authoring and composes the page visually by switching to the edit mode. The first step will be to just drag and drop the content fragment he just created as the main body of text for the page. To make the page a bit more attractive, he's going to display the main body of text only, but also allowing for additional components to be inserted in between each of the paragraphs. Then Matthias simply drags and drop one of the uploaded images as the hero image for the page. And then he inserts some of the other images in between some of the text paragraphs. The right rendition is automatically selected based on the current format and orientation of the page, and dynamically loaded only when needed to speed up page rendering. The weekend site pages are built using our library of core components. Each component is making use of the AEM styling system, allowing to quickly adjust the presentation of your content and your site. For instance, Matthias inserts a new title component in between two paragraphs, then edits the text inline. For each component, a library of available styles is available to adjust the presentation to particular needs. For instance, here Matthias can select in between three possible styles for the title component, controlling the font's styling, the alignment and the spacing on the page. Matthias can then preview the page entirely. For this purpose, he leverages the built-in device simulation mode, in order to get an idea for how the page is going to look like on various mobile devices such as tablets and mobile phones. The weekend site, and the core components that the site is built upon, are natively enabled for responsive design, allowing for a logical flow of content on screens of different types and orientations. If the page looks good to Matthias, he can publish it right away, along with all the dependent items. However, for this demonstration, he's going one step further. The page was created in the master site structure using the English language. The next step will consist of making this new page available to all the country sites that are based on the same language. As Matthias can see from the list of references, the magazine section already comes with 2 live copies. He can get a nice overview of this structure from the Multi-Sites Manager Control Center. From the dashboard, he can roll out the changes made to the master structure to all existing live copies. When the operation is completed, the new page is then available to both the US English site, and to the Canada English site also. Matthias can even go one step further and leverage the built-in translation process for the page he just created, in order to make the page available in one or multiple other languages. This is done by creating new language copies for the article page. He selects the target languages for the article, and which connector to use for performing the translation. AEM supports the leading translation engines and agencies out there. The translation project allows to carefully track and review the ongoing translations. In this demonstration, he's just starting the automated translation of the page and all associated elements into French. Once completed, Matthias can preview the results, make some further edits if needed. And approve the translation. Now that the new page has been made available to multiple sites in multiple languages, Matthias publishes the page he just created. It is immediately made available to the internet, with optimal performance thanks to the use of the built-in CDN within AEM as a cloud service. Let's now switch to our final persona, Brian, our web developer. Building a web experience as per your own visual specifications, only out of reference components and pages, isn't always possible. That's where AEM as a cloud service really shines in the way it allows developers to extend and build their own components and extensions. And in order to make sure that the custom code complies to our best practices, Brian will make heavy use of the Adobe Cloud Manager for this purpose. For our demo today, Brian simply wants to add a new styling option to the title component. Currently there are several options available. Brian is adding a new one, allowing to animate the text a little bit. This code change is done in 2 steps. First, he is adding the CSS classes for this new style. Then he's referencing this new CSS class into the AEM styling system. Brian can make use of the AEM as a cloud service SDK to quickly develop and test the new feature locally. Then his code change is pushed to the code repository associated to the AEM program. A new deployment pipeline is then started to get the changes pushed to the cloud environment. Various steps in the pipeline ensure that the code is secure, of good quality, with good performance. Once the deployment is complete, which happens without any interruption of service for the content author, the updated component is ready for use in the authoring environment. Let's see this new style in action with our title component in the article we created before. To conclude this demonstration, please keep in mind of the main characteristics of AEM as a cloud service. It's always current, with no need to plan for future upgrades. It's modular and scalable, based on auto-scaling and a new microservice architecture. It's resilient and built for redundancy with the highest service levels. And finally, it's secure by default, pre-configured with Adobe-backed security rules. Thank you for watching.